Behind the towering walls of the Vatican lies a secret worth billions, one that Pope Francis tried desperately to conceal from the world. A man with access to treasures more valuable than the GDP of dozens of countries who chose to sleep in a modest guesthouse room and ride in a compact Fiat. What you're about to see changes everything you thought you knew about the immense wealth of the Catholic Church and the man who controlled it all. By the end, you'll uncover 3 shocking truths about how Pope Francis, a Jesuit who took a vow of poverty, navigated the labyrinth of Vatican finances and made decisions that would stun even his closest allies. According to leaked Vatican financial reports from 2023, while the Holy See maintained an art collection conservatively valued at $15 billion, Pope Francis refused his monthly salary of $32,000, opting instead to donate it entirely to charitable causes. This paradox defines the story you're about to witness. How could someone with access to such vast resources live with such striking simplicity? And what does that tell us about the true nature of power, wealth, and faith at the highest levels of the Catholic Church? To the world, Pope Francis was the humble reformer, the Argentine who broke tradition by refusing to live in the ornate apostolic palace. "I'm not used to living in such large spaces," he explained when asked about his unconventional choice to reside in the Santa Marta guest house. But every night, while he slept on a simple bed in his modest quarters, he remained the steward of an empire worth billions. The Vatican Bank, officially known as the Institute for the Works of Religion, managed assets worth $5.6 billion in 2023 alone in Investopedia. Its fortress-like walls house financial records that few outsiders ever glimpsed. When Francis assumed the papacy in 2013, he inherited not just spiritual authority, but a vast economic kingdom spanning continents. Yet the true scope of Vatican wealth extends far beyond its banking operations. In 2021, a historic first disclosure revealed that the Holy See owned more than 5,000 properties worldwide, 4,051 of them in Italy alone. Forbes. The total value? Never officially disclosed, feeding endless speculation and mystery. Within the Vatican museums lies a single ancient Roman bathtub, estimated to be worth $2 billion, more than the entire GDP of some small nations. This porphyry masterpiece, carved from purple-hued stone, once reserved exclusively for emperors, sits in plain view of tourists, its true value known to only a select few, the daily beast. The Vatican's art collection as a whole has been valued by experts at between $10 and $15 billion, enough to end hunger in multiple developing countries for years. Paintings, sculptures, and artifacts accumulated over centuries sit in climate-controlled rooms. They're worth incalculable, not just in monetary terms, but in cultural significance. Yet while overseeing this empire of wealth, Pope Francis insisted on wearing simple black shoes instead of the traditional red ones worn by his predecessors. "The Church must be poor and for the poor," he declared in one of his earliest addresses as pontiff. This statement would become a defining principle of his papacy. Perhaps most revealing is how the Vatican's wealth was actually deployed. In 2023, Peter's Pence, the primary charitable fund at the Pope's disposal, collected 52 million euros in donations. Of this sum, a mere 13 million euros, just 25%, went to charitable projects. The remaining 75% was diverted to cover the administrative costs of the Roman Curia Pillar Catholic. Meanwhile, the Vatican Bank reported a profit of 30.6 million euros in 2023, with 13.6 million earmarked for charitable works Catholic Virginian. A respectable sum, but a fraction of the institution's total holdings. In 2013, just days after becoming Pope Francis made a decision that would come to symbolize his entire approach to wealth and power. He rejected the lavish papal apartments in the Apostolic Palace, a suite of 10 rooms featuring priceless artworks, antique furnishings, and a staff of personal attendants. Instead, he chose to live in room 201 of the Santa Marta guest house, a modest space with simple furnishings where he could dine with ordinary staff and visitors. When asked about this unprecedented choice, Francis said simply, "I need to live among people." This wasn't just a symbolic gesture. It represented a fundamental challenge to centuries of papal tradition and the very nature of Vatican wealth. Critics within the church hierarchy called it a publicity stunt, a populist move designed to curry favor with the masses. Conservative cardinals whispered that he was undermining the dignity of the papal office. But millions of Catholics worldwide hailed it as a return to the simplicity of Jesus himself. A small wooden desk in his guest house room became his signature workspace. From this humble station, he would make decisions affecting the finances of one of the world's wealthiest institutions, signing documents worth millions while maintaining his vow of Jesuit poverty. What few realized during Francis's papacy was how his personal choices secretly influenced a seismic shift in Vatican finances. Under his direction, the Vatican Bank closed approximately 5,000 dormant or suspicious accounts as part of a sweeping reform to address decades of financial scandals. The man who refused his own salary was relentlessly targeting corruption within the Vatican's financial structures. That immense wealth in Vatican coffers, it wasn't just about gold or property. It was about the power to shape global events through strategic investment in charitable giving. Francis redirected millions to refugee assistance amid the European migration crisis, making the Vatican a central player in one of the defining humanitarian challenges of our time. By the time of his death, Pope Francis left behind a Vatican still wrestling with a structural deficit of 50 to 60 million euros annually. Despite his reforms, the fundamental tension between accumulated wealth and operational costs remained unresolved. His personal financial legacy? Reports suggest he died with less than $100 in personal wealth, having given away his accumulated resources. The paradox that defined his papacy raises a profound question for our time. What does it mean to control billions while choosing to live as though you have almost nothing? What is the purpose of accumulated wealth if not to address human suffering? And can an institution built on centuries of financial power truly reform itself from within? As St. Peter's Square fills with mourners, that modest Fiat 500L he chose over armored luxury vehicles stands as perhaps his most powerful statement. A reminder that how we spend our resources, whether personal or institutional, reveals more about our values than any words could ever express.